Cheers and salutations. Welcome back to Americans Learn. My name is Kit, and today we have ourselves another special video from Sabaton History. That's right, all of you have been requesting this, and I cannot thank all of you enough for these outstanding recommendations. And no, I am not starting in order, but after this video, I promise I'll start with the first video, going on after in order, because this is number 7. The last video we watched was the Bismarck, which was number 12, but this one hits close to home because I have such an affinity to Japan. My family's been very close to Japan, and this has to do with Shiroyama, the Satsuma Rebellion, Sabaton History, number 7. So I am very interested in this, and as always, anything relating to Japan is so awesome to me. I mean, the last time I was in Japan was before the world went upside down crazy, and that was on Christmas Day of 2019. Nothing happened in 2020. Well, we won't talk about that. But I was in Japan for 5 weeks, and I had a chance to check out a lot of the great historical buildings, temples. Even had a chance to check out the original imperial castle, or imperial residency of the emperors in Kyoto, which was again such a fantastic thing to look at. So if any of you ever get a chance to go to Japan, I mean, there's so many wonderful cultural landmarks. Please, I hope you do take the time in this lifetime to go ahead and visit Japan if you get that chance. It was a wonderful opportunity, and I hope sometime soon to go back and see that beautiful country and so much more. But without further ado, before I play this video, this is very important, and this would be a favor to me. If you haven't done so already, please support the original content creators. For all the videos that we have here on Americans Learn, we have the original video link in the description box below. And we here at Americans Learn encourage all of you to please support the original content creators. But without further ado, since I'm in charge of the ones and twos, let's get ready to play this video in a 3, a 2, a 1.
I'm Indy Nidell.
And I'm Joachim from Sabaton, and this is Sabaton History.
The Battle of Shiroyama was a major turning point in Japanese history, where the samurai, heavily outnumbered, made a heroic stand and counterattack against the Japanese army, showing their legendary skills for the world to see in their final fight.
Wow.
And our song, Shiroyama, is not only about that battle, but also a tribute to the ancient code of honor, Bushido.
Whoa, I wasn't aware of that they had a music video for that. Oh, I gotta check that out.
Now, in a minute, he's going to tell you a bit about the song, but first, I'm going to tell you the history.
In the 7th century, Japan took a major step towards an era of feudalism with a series of reforms. Not really going to go into it here, but these not only reformed the classes, they also redistributed land among local lords, who in turn taxed much of the local population to live and work on said land. Over the centuries, those feudal lords eventually became rich and powerful, though that was not the reform plan, and the emperors became more or less figureheads. To defend their position and their wealth, the lords depended upon skilled warriors who called themselves bushi. We call them samurai. The lords built their power bases with their own private armies, and early medieval Japan saw clans and families rise and fall as they fought for power. A new era began in the late 12th century when a clan leader named Yoritomo seized power and proclaimed himself shogun, and this elevated the importance of the bushi to a higher level. As the military arm of Japan, a new warrior caste was officially born. The era of the samurai would last for hundreds of years, and you can look up all the ups and downs of the power of the shoguns versus the regional warlords, the daimyo, for yourselves. The samurai were not simply armed thugs that pushed around the locals, not for the most part anyhow. They usually bound their lives to a code of honor and merit. One such set of rules to live by, next to the Book of Five Rings and the Hagakure, was the Bushido. The Bushido speaks of a code of morality and principles that every honorable samurai must follow to be respected and valued in Japanese society. Central themes, next to the mastery of martial arts, are honesty, dignity, and loyalty to their master.
It's the nature of time that the old ways must give in. It's the nature of time that the new.
Again, I love the artistry and imagery so much. I like to have a picture like this for my own personal collection. It's just so beautiful. I can't praise it enough. And even seeing the original architecture last time I was in Japan, and even what remains of the samurai as well, and its influence in Japan. It's incredible. And I've already see pausing here. We're gonna get to something that I really like, and that's the Meiji restoration. I actually had a chance to visit the Meiji Shrine in Tokyo, and our channel, we're all from Chicago, but as we were heading towards the Meiji Shrine, there was this store. Right as soon as we got off the train stop, there was a store, and the name of it was called Chicago. and the thing is, for some reason, again with the sign with the word Chicago on it, there was nothing but palm trees and beaches, and I'm thinking, geez, I've been living in Chicago my entire life, and I've never seen beaches and palm trees that look like they belong in Miami. But nonetheless, it was a hilarious sight to see. And the Meiji Shrine itself, though, incredible. And there's this one area that's dedicated to Meiji in regards towards his taste, and he loved red wine, but he also loved whiskey. Two things that are very close to my heart in regards to beverages that I like to consume. So, Meiji already, somebody I would like to drink with.
Always comes in sin.
Well into the 19th century, the samurai class, within the rigid Japanese class system, remained powerful and enjoyed the privileges given them by the daimyo. But as the 19th century progressed, the shogunate was challenged by new ideas and social reforms, and was finally toppled by the imperial Meiji Restoration in 1868. Mutsuhito, the Meiji emperor, aimed to revolutionize Japan by adopting Western ideals. He pushed democratic reforms and established a constitutional monarchy. This broke the feudal structure and sabotaged the existence of the samurai. By abandoning the old caste system, and caste isn't really the right word, but class isn't really either. Anyhow, hundreds of thousands of samurai, some sources say up to
Let's say hierarchical structure. There you go. Came in there with the save. But seriously, Meiji was not screwing around. And this is a little personal grief, and I'll keep my pausing to a minimum because, again, this is important. But I hated how they portrayed Emperor Meiji in The Last Samurai. I hated it. It's not correct. But that's just my beef. It's my problem. Whatever. I'll leave it alone.
The 2 million were suddenly out of a job, and worse for them, they were now socially equal to the common man, as the law now made all men commoners. This turned the whole social hierarchy upside down. Japan was by then under increasing pressure from the Western colonial powers. European and American ships were already probing the Far East to exploit potential weaknesses, and Japan had to shed its old skin and enter the modern era or fall behind, opening the country to modern technology and ideas. By any standard, Meiji saved Japan from the fate of the continental Southeast Asian states that ended up either colonized or torn apart like China. His main foreign policy achievement was to strengthen Japan to the point that they could resist the unequal treaties. The reforms he carried out on the home front contributed to this substantially. The emperor's new conscript army, for example, would rely on mass firepower instead of individual skill with the sword, and it would answer only to the central government, with no allegiances to local lords. There were many powerful clan leaders that supported the emperor, as it was their traditional duty. One such man was Saigo Takamori. He had played a large part in the Meiji Restoration and supported modernizing Japan's military. But he also hoped the samurai could still hold on to their power in the countryside. This was not to be, and Saigo left his post as an imperial military advisor and retreated to his own domain of Satsuma, Kagoshima, on the southern Japanese island of Kyushu. Now, he was opposed to the new structures of Japanese society, but did not seek a confrontation with the emperor's rule. Instead, he kept the ideas of Bushido and the samurai alive in his own schools and dojos. Side note here, contrary to popular belief, the samurai did adopt new technologies. In fact, Clan Satsuma was famous for its artillery school. Okay. It was soon obvious that imperial officials loyal to Saigo were unofficially supplying his schools with ammunition and military-grade weapons, and this raised deep concerns at the imperial high court. Investigators were sent out, and these openly accused Saigo of preparing a rebellion. This was an insult to Saigo's students, and some of them committed local acts of violence against government officials. By 1870...
Again, gonna keep my pausing here to a minimum, but again, this is examples of why the reforms were needed. Again, if you look at Japan's feudal history, I mean, there were so many warlords and chieftains and people who wanted to obtain power. There was no central authority. I mean, for a long time, there was ongoing conflict in feudal Japan, and here comes Emperor Meiji, especially during the time of peace, to modernize Japan so that it could compete with the global superpowers at the time, the colonial superpowers at the time. And my colleague Daniel and I, we were recently watching the Pacific War done by kings and generals, especially the early stages before the war got started, and why Japan was needed to modernize, because again, all the European and American colonial powers were grabbing up land and territory, and having a feudal system and having ancient ways is going to do nothing against a modern army, modern navy, with artillery and rapid fire weaponry. I mean, it's just ain't gonna work. Just ain't gonna work. And there needed to be a massive overhaul in the entire system.
77, this spiraled into open war between the samurai forces of Satsuma and the Imperial Japanese Army. Saigo gathered warriors and students loyal to him and marched out of Kagoshima in early February to meet the approaching Imperial Army in the field. But he made a strategic mistake that doomed the rebellion from the start. He wanted to first take Kumamoto Castle, one of the strongest castles in all of Japan, north of his realm of influence. He thought it would surrender to him without a fight, but the officers of the castle remained loyal to the emperor. As he laid siege to the castle in winter conditions, the Imperial Army arrived. Both sides were initially around 10,000 troops each, and for 2 months the battles raged, mostly in close combat with swords and bayonets, and the losses were in the thousands. But the Imperial Army, under General Aritomo Yamagata, an old colleague and friend of Saigo, could easily replace conscripts by the hundreds, while samurai warriors, who had trained their whole lives with their weapons, could not do so at all. Despite their far greater skill on an individual level, the rebels were forced to retreat. Still, it was a fighting retreat, and the remaining samurai waged a relentless guerrilla war, but they could not run forever. By September, it was only Saigo and 400 of his samurai who managed to slip through the imperial lines and make their way back to their capital of Satsuma, taking refuge on the heights of Hill Shiroyama. It did not take long for the Imperials to catch up, and General Yamagata was determined to finally capture Saigo and crush the rebellion once and for all. He ordered his men, some 30,000 strong by this point, to lay siege to the heights. They surrounded Shiroyama with a complex system of earthworks, trenches, and barricades. Yamagata sent out an envoy with a letter demanding Saigo's unconditional surrender. That letter shows the deep affection and respect the imperial general held for his friend, and you can read the letter in the description. Saigo, true to the nature of Bushido, could not accept surrender and denied Yamagata's request. See, for the samurai, Surrendering was the most shameful thing they could do. A warrior was not just remembered by how he lived, fought, and served. He was also judged by the way he met his end. Death, even in defeat, could be the most honorable and glorious act of a samurai's life. And after all, death is inevitable, but giving up or losing heart in the face of defeat is not, and is unacceptable. Knowing the end was near, Saigo and his men spent their final days singing songs, writing poetry, and playing games, while the Imperial Army prepared its assault. Its artillery began to fire at midnight as September 24th began. The samurai wished each other farewell and shared a last cup of sake. At 3 a.m., Imperial infantry stormed up the hill. The samurai charged, forcing them into close combat. Now, they could not hope to match the skill of the samurai, and took huge casualties, and their lines fell into disarray, but numbers were on their side. By 6 a.m., only 40 of the samurai were still alive. Saigo himself had been mortally wounded, probably from a bullet to the stomach or the hip, though that is uncertain. The legend goes that he was carried back up the hill by one of his closest friends. As they found a quiet spot, Saigo turned one last time in the direction of the imperial palace, bowed, and then got to his knees. He committed seppuku, the traditional suicide, by slicing the abdomen open to preserve his honor. His friend cut off Saigo's head with one stroke and hid it somewhere on the mountain. In the morning sun of September 24th, 1877, the remaining 40 samurai met their fate in one final suicidal charge into the imperial lines. All of them were cut down by gunfire. The defeat at Shiroyama not only meant the end of the Satsuma rebellion, but the end of the samurai. Japan had entered a new era where such warriors had no place. From now on, the Japanese would wage war with an army made of recruits from all classes and all backgrounds. Saigo Takamori remains a tragic hero whose dedication and skill will always be remembered as examples of the best of his kind, the samurai, and his code, the Bushido.
Shiroyama, the song, obviously is going to have a certain meaning for Japanese fans and stuff. Do you guys play in Japan?
Yes, we played there 4 times since 2015.
Hey, I didn't know that. That is awesome. That is. I mean to cut it off. Hold on. I'm gonna rewind that. But that is awesome right there.
Do you guys... Shiroyama, the song, obviously is going to have a certain meaning for Japanese fans and stuff. Do you guys play in Japan?
Yes, we played there 4 times since 2015, actually.
All right, Tokyo!
And what about before that?
Never.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
we never had the timing. We always wanted to go, but it just never happened.
But the song Shiroyama, that was sort of an unexpected, like, big crowd pleaser for you guys, right?
Yeah, I was really happy because I really liked the song. It's got this kind of 80s movie theme, vibe to it. Not only the Japanese, but fans from all over the world took it sort of to their hearts. So even while we were on the Last Stand tour, which Shiroyama is from, it actually made its way to the encores at the end because it was so popular. And that is...
Really? Not being a single?
Yeah, not being a single.
But that's what people wanted.
And from the new album,
Yeah.
So thank you for that, fans. That was...
So what would
amazing.
an encore be on the Last Stand tour? How many 2 or 3 songs? What do you guys do as an encore?
On the last run of this tour, we did usually Primo Victoria as the first one could be, and then into Shiroyama, and then finishing up with To Hell and Back.
To Hell and Back.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. See, now you guys learned something that you did not know about Sabaton. Although some of you probably did know that.
Yes.
So-
Everyone who went to the concerts, actually.
Yeah, everyone's like, I went.
Yes, of course.
Okay, sorry. All right. Well, once again, Shiroyama is on the Last Stand album.
And that's all for today.
But we will see you next time and every time on Sabaton History.
All right, soldiers, you know the drill. Subscribe. Sabaton History, regular Sabaton. World War II, and Time Ghost. Playlist. Click. Click now, soldier! And now, Patreon. Good one. And on the ground, and give me 20.
Fair enough. I will do 20 push-ups as soon as I'm done with this video. But wow. Again, seriously, feedback from you, the audience, and I will make this promise. I will start with number 1, going in order from here on out. Just as soon as I saw something relating to Japan, my personal bias weighed in. I hope you guys can forgive me for that. But look, again, outstanding history. I never knew this. I mean, I understood about, the Meiji Restoration, but let's go ahead and read that letter. Let's check it out together. Oh my goodness. What will you do when your traditional way of life is threatened by a powerful force in your native lands? The samurai didn't hesitate to answer this question with our swords. During the Satsuma rebellion, the samurai and its leader Saigo Takamori, fought the Japanese imperial government. The rebellion ended with the Battle of Shiroyama, where in 1877 the samurai prepared for a last stand. The letter demanding Saigo's surrender. As the leader of young, vigorous men of the nation and resisting a great and famous army through many fierce battles, your fame is already well enough known to the world. But now most of your brave generals are dead or injured, and your military power is daily growing weaker. It is already clear that It is already clear that as last your Satsuma army is unable to keep its spirit, I don't know what further things you can hope to achieve, except a hopeless defensive battle. If you, Saigo, rather than lengthening the rest of your days a little, prefer to cause hundreds and thousands of dead and wounded from both armies, there is nothing that I, Toriyama, can say to you. I beg you to judge for yourself, as you hold matters in the palm of your hand, that you will save both armies from death and injury. Ah, you are a man famous and known to the world. About our national constitution, naturally, it is not only Toriyama who knows what you really think, but the matter has been settled over many years of public debate. I, Toriyama, earnestly beg, as your friend, writing this, my tears fall like rain, and I cannot express myself at all. Please sympathize with the sincerity of my pain. There was no way Saigo was going to surrender. It's a beautiful letter. It's a reasonable letter. But not for the samurai. They were last of an era that is far gone. That fight was going to happen nonetheless. Wow. That is fascinating. I was unaware of this letter's existence. And again, huge shout out to you, guys and gals, you hip cool cats, for suggesting, demanding, and being very vocal about us checking out Sabaton history. Without all of you, I would not have found these videos, and I make you this my solemn promise to start watching all the videos in proper order from 1 all the way up to however many there are, because the video in regards to the Bismarck and this one, top quality, great information, and helps us learn more about the key events that help shape the modern world that we live in today. So, as always, please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that ring bell notification. That way you're made aware when we upload new content onto our YouTube channel. But also, please support the original content creators. All right, that link is in the description box below. But also, after this video, do 20 push-ups, drink water, and keep on winning. Take care.